Hey, what is up, YouTube? Kolst here. We're trying a little bit of an experiment here. Basically, I'm going to be talking about the new cards. The mini set is coming out next Tuesday as we're recording this video, so I just figured, I have Mercenaries on the screen because I figured I might as well, grind some Mercenaries just to have, stuff on the screen and do stuff. But also, I wanted to talk about all the new cards. I already had a video out where I talk about all the common cards which were released yesterday, so now I'm going to be talking about all the rares. So with that, let's just get right into it. So let's cue some actions here. I'm curious if you guys like this style of video, by the way. If you like it, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it, and leave comments and all that stuff, of course, and subscribe if you want to see more of this stuff. But anyway, let's talk about the first card. We're going to go right down the list. So the first card we have here is Proving Grounds, which is a Demon Hunter spell. Summon 2 minions from your deck. They fight. So I'll just be very blunt with this card. This card is probably going into discussion for being possibly the worst arena card ever. That's how bad this card is. So if you think about it, there are ways to recruit a minion from your deck. Which is essentially what this is, except not only do you not get the full minion, instead of getting a random minion, you get a random minion that has already fought another minion. So it's going to be worse, probably, based on the average deck. So I mean, honestly, this card isn't worth even spending that much time talking about because it is that freaking bad. But yeah, it's just not a card you're going to want to see at all. That's going to be a really annoying skill to level up. But yeah, just never ever pick this. The biggest function of this card, as far as Arena is concerned, is just making the Spell Discover's pool for Demon Hunter worse, I feel. And it will be a little bit significant in that way. So next we'll move on to Druid. So Druid has 2 rare cards in this set. The first one is Jerry-Rig Carpenter. So Jerry-Rig Carpenter is a 2-mana 2/1 battle cry. Draw a choose 1 spell and split it. So if you don't know what this text means, what that implies essentially is that, imagine you get I should have pulled this up. But imagine you have Power of the Wild. So Power of the Wild is a choose 1 where you get a 3/2, or you get to have a +1 buff, +1/+1 buff. Essentially what that means is that you're gonna get 2 separate cards. So you're gonna get a 3/2 Panther, and you're also gonna get a +1/+1 buff. So overall, what that essentially means is that you're gonna be getting, it's 2-mana 2/1, but instead of being a loot hoarder, you're gonna draw 2 cards. Choose 1 cards aren't necessarily as strong as normal cards, but I mean essentially it's 2-mana 2/1 draw 2, so it's pretty good. Definitely not gonna be the craziest card. You do have to actually have choose 1 cards in your deck, so it's not guaranteed to actually go off. That's another downside, but I mean overall it's definitely going to be a pretty solid card most of the time, so I think it's gonna be pretty good. And moving on to the next rare card in Druid in this mini set, which is Moonlit Guidance. So this is a 2-mana spell. Discover a copy of a card in your deck. If you play it this turn, draw the original. So it's interesting. It's another thing where it's it's a conditional 2-mana draw 2. The fact that you can pull, as far as Arena is concerned, the fact that you can actually choose to pull something out of your deck can be interesting. I don't know, I'd have to think about this more. To be totally honest, it's a very interesting card. Overall, I would think it's just, I mean, the thing is that you can't, the fact that you can potentially copy something is actually extremely strong. It's just a little bit slow. You have to be able, I mean, if you were to copy an 8-mana card, you would have to play it on turn 10. You can't copy anything bigger than 8 mana. And, to get actually draw 2, to actually make it good, you have to play it very late. So just the fact that you have to play it late, I feel limits its value a little bit, especially if it's a tempo heavy meta like we're experiencing right now. Yeah, I definitely agree. It's because it is Mimic Pod, except you have to play it. It's that's an actually pretty annoying condition, I feel for Arena. So it's a lot worse than a 2-mana draw 2, I think. And actually, to be honest, if you're looking at Demon Hunter, a 2-mana draw 2 isn't actually that good. Even. you know? So I don't think this is actually going to be great for Arena. But it's definitely not going to be bad. Like, you'll pick it sometimes, but, you know, I just wouldn't be too excited for it. Alright, so let's move on to the next class. We get a stranger. Yep, we got a hot potato. Great. We'll be moving on to Hunter. So this is probably, we don't know all the cards yet, obviously, but this might be my favorite card of the new mini set already, which is 2-mana Hunter spell called Doggy Biscuit. It's a 2-mana spell again with tradable, give a minion +2/+3. So that's a pretty good effect right there. But it also has the effect that if you trade it, you give a friendly minion rush. I'm going to talk a little bit later about this card when I compare it to another card which I strongly dislike in this set. But this card I actually really like. I like how the tradable has this interesting text along with it. It's definitely not going to be like a super busted card. Like 2 mana, give a minion +2/+3 is definitely good. But you know, like Mark of the Wild does that, right? And it's not a super strong Druid card. Totally fine. I just really like the fact that this card just isn't like super busted and it's just really interesting and has like, you know, multiple uses. I really like things like this. This is probably gonna be my favorite card of the set. Power level wise, again, like it's probably, this is a terrible map. I should retire it. But yeah, it's a fine and interesting card, so I like it a lot. I think Arena or Hearthstone in general needs more cards like this. Unfortunately, cards that are, you know, well designed and happy and healthy and stuff tend to get complained about and constructed because they don't influence the meta enough, and then people don't pay enough money and whatever. But you know, but yeah, I hope they'll make more cards like this. I really appreciate this card's existence. How you doing, Barnaby? I'm doing all right. How you doing? So let's move on to the next class, which is Mage. So it looks like Mage has 2 rare cards in this set that were just announced. The first one being Deepwater Evoker. So Deepwater Evoker is a 4-mana 3/4 battle cry, draw a spell, gain armor equal to its cost. So if you compare this, like, I mean, to put it bluntly, like, you know, adventurers, or what were they called? They're not called adventurers, they're called something else. But like the cards that are like 3-mana 2/3s that draw a spell are pretty good, even if you can't trigger the condition, right? And this is, I mean, it's a little heavier. It's probably slightly worse being a little heavier, but it's like, it's essentially the same idea, right? So 4-mana 3/4 draw a spell is totally fine. The fact that you have a greedy value card that gives you armor to forgive you, kind of to give you, you know, survivability to counteract that, you know, greed is pretty good. So overall, you know, this is a totally fun card. It's not going to be, you know, the most busted thing ever, but you know, even though you could hypothetically not have any spells, which does happen sometimes, usually, you know, you're gonna have something. So as long as this draws, which it almost always will, pretty good card. So not gonna be breaking the meta, but definitely a pretty solid card for farming Anduin. Yeah, I actually maxed my Anduin, but which is why I'm going to be retiring every run, because I don't need Anduin coins anymore. But yeah, this is a very strong card. We did say hello, YouTube. Yes, Sapper. How you doing? And next we have another mage spell, which is Arcane, well, not a spell, another mage card, which is a spell, Arcane Overflow. So this card is, I'll just say, this card is really good. So 5 mana, deal 8 damage to an enemy minion. Let me, for this, I should just bring up a tweet that I made earlier today. Let me pull this up, because I feel like this is the most appropriate thing to bring up. Oh, you can't see the meme. Can't see the full meme here. You versus the guy she told you not to worry about. This is just strict Flame Lance power creep. But yeah. So yeah, overall, I mean, this is definitely it's a very good card. So it's 5 mana, deal 8 to an enemy minion. Summon a remnant with stats equal to the excess damage. So a lot of times, one of the problems with Flame Lance was that, you know, simply put, like, you would often do way more. You wouldn't actually need to deal 8 damage, right? And it would just kind of waste it. So this card would essentially have 2 different uses. I mean, you can use it like 3 different ways, actually. You can use it basically as like a 5-mana Firelens portal, you know, kill a mid-sized thing, get a mid-sized minion. Or you can kill a small thing and get a giant minion, or you can kill a big thing and get, you know, maybe a little minion at the end, right? So it's just, you know, overall, you're getting, frankly, just, it's not like super busted, but you're just getting a little bit more than you would expect to get out of a card, basically. So it's just a very good removal. You're going to be picking this probably near every time. It's just a very strong card. We're moving on to Paladin. So Paladin has 2 rares in this set. The first one is Righteous Defense. So 3-mana spell, set a minion's attack and health to 1. Give the stats it lost to a minion in your hand. So this card is like strong to the extent that it almost like bothers me, to be totally blunt. Like, holy crap. So Subdue is a 2-mana card in Paladin, which is extremely strong. This is Subdue, but with, you know, obviously when you set a minion's attack and health to 1, you're doing it to something big, right? So it's like, for 1 extra mana, it's not like you generally need, because you're hitting on something big, it's not like you're playing it on curve. So like, for just the low cost of 1 extra mana, like imagine you hit like a 7/7 with this, just 1 mana to get like a 6/6 hand buff. That just seems absolutely insane. I don't know where, like, how much you would actually have to say how much it would have to be like quote unquote worth it. But like, holy crap, like, I mean, even if you just put this on like if you just put this on a 3/3, you're getting a 2/2 hand buff for 1 mana. Is pretty good. But obviously you're gonna wait until you can do it way better. So I mean, I don't know, this card is just like absolutely insane. This card is like possibly just not okay level of insane. So Paladin's gonna be turning into the priest of like literally just don't play any minions, because any minion, if you ever play a big minion, you'll just straight up lose to this card. It's just nuts. Alright, with that, like, let's just move on to the next one, which is quite flavorful card. 5-mana 2/8 Wealth Redistributor. It has Taunt and Battlecry. Swap the attack of the highest and lowest attack minion. This is, I have to say, a very weird effect. You know, it's like something like the fact that it's not targetable, it's going to automatically swap whatever the highest and lowest attack minions is. The idea would be, I assume it can swap itself, so I mean, I guess like what you would aim to do, like imagine your opponent just plays like an 8/8 or something, and then you could just play this, and then you're getting a 5-mana 8/8 with basically a humility effect. Actually, now that I think about this is insane. I was gonna say, like, I think this is gonna be too weird, but now that I'm thinking about that, that's just like a very common scenario that's actually gonna be very likely to happen often. Okay, I was gonna say this card isn't very good, but actually the more I think about it, I think this is like Silas Darkmoon 2.0. I think this card is actually shit insane busted. Yeah, never mind. Okay, this card is nuts. It's probably not going to be as good as Silas, because it's a little bit harder to trigger probably, so sometimes it just won't exactly work, but man, I think a lot of times it's going to be good. You're saying your recruits get in the way of this? I don't think so, because like your recruit is going to be the thing that, well, it's true that you'd rather hit it probably on the redistributor, but I mean, I'm just like thinking about it more as like a removal. But yeah, this is like, yeah, I don't know, this is like new Silas. It's probably going to be super underestimated, just like Silas was, right? I think this is insane. Yeah, there's a lot of cards in this set that are insane. Put this one on the insane list. Talking about insane cards, we're moving on to the next card, which is Copycat. This is the card which was revealed. It was revealed, if you don't know, by Chalky. Chalky revealed like a month ago, kind of as a joke, but he was like, I'm gonna give a spoiler, no one's gonna say anything. No one's gonna be able to say anything about it, because... And he spoiled the fact that there'd be a 3-mana 3/4. So this is it. The 3-mana 3/4 with a Battlecry, add a copy of the next card your opponent plays to your hand. This is very interesting, because I think this is the first time it's ever actually happened. This is a battle cry that you don't actually get instant value out of, because you have to wait until your opponent plays their turn before you can actually get the value. But I mean, you know, seems pretty straightforward, right? It's kind of interesting because it's, well, first of all, just as far as Arena is concerned, a 3-mana 3/4 that draws a card like this is just nuts, right? Even if you get something that's kind of garbage, you know, your opponent's gonna know, right? So they're not gonna, you know, give you something super nuts. But man, like, just still 3-mana 3/4 with draw is insane, even if it draws crap. So it's very strong, and I like the fact it seems like a card that you could really, you know, have some skillful usage of. You know, it's almost like kind of like a mirror entity, but it's face up, not face down. But it's almost like a mirror entity in the sense that, you know, you could play it right into your opponent's. If you know that your opponent's going to want to play a certain card on a certain turn, there's some big power card that you're afraid of, you can just play this right into it. So I like this card a lot. I think it's very interesting. It's going to be very frustrating to get it completely wrecked by, but you know, here's what it is. So it seems very yeah, it's an extremely strong card. So if you see Priest, which we don't know that you will right now with how Priest is right now, you will see a lot of this card. But yeah, very strong card. It was a battle cry that got death rattle. True, but like, yeah, that would be kind of delayed as well. Let's move on to Rogue. So Rogue has a card, single rare card, which is Harley, which is just a 1-mana spell. Swap this for a card in your opponent's deck. So I guess you're getting a card which was good enough that you could actually, you know, your opponent was willing to put it in their deck. So that's not particularly terrible, but in general, 1 mana just completely random. It's not like you get to discover, you know, a card. So it's probably not going to be super good, but I mean, it's a fun card, so, you know, you'll see probably a fair amount of it. I guess it's worth saying that, you know, if you're playing Rogue and you're against, like, for example, if there's a class that's super busted like Warlock right now, maybe it's actually worth running this card just to try to steal, you know, the Warlock spells or whatever. But yeah, overall not a super strong card, but pickable. And next we move on to the third to last class actually, which is Shaman. So Shaman has a particular 4-drop here, which is called Sucker Hook. 4-mana 3/6. At the end of your turn, transform your weapon into one that costs 1 more. So it's very interesting, just the fact that this is it's evolved for weapons basically. So it's probably it's you would imagine like it's a similar concept to evolve, that, you know, the same way you would want to trade off a minion, value trade a minion and then evolve it. It would be the same thing with the weapon, except you just swing the weapon and then once it has 1 charge left, you evolve it into something. We'll have to look at like exactly what the weapon card pool looks like, to be honest, because there actually are a fair number of weapons. I'm not going to do that right now, but there are actually a fair number of weapons that are, you know, not exactly great stats for their cost. Just for example, like, you know, a very strong card is like the 6-mana 3/3 weapon in Paladin. That comes with a 6/6, but obviously you wouldn't get the 6/6, right? And there's just other weapons that don't actually have that great of stats. So one of the things you're going to be wanting to think of, you're going to want to think about with this card exactly what the options are that you can actually evolve into, because, you know, there's going to be weapons that you might actually not want to evolve. But just generally speaking, I mean, most of the time this is going to be a fine effect, and it's a 4-mana 3/6, and 4-mana 3/6 are extremely good. So, you know, it's a good card for sure. Next, let's move on to Warlock. So Warlock has 1 rare card announced, which is Hullbreaker. So Hullbreaker is a 4-mana 4/3 with Battlecry and Death Rattle. Draw a spell. Your hero takes damage equal to its cost. So this seems a little bit spicy to have in Warlock. So obviously, you know, you don't get to have like the quest we're talking about Arena here, and like you don't get to have the quest where, you know, self damage is just like a strict upside almost. So the problem here is that you're playing a 4-mana 4/3, which is really bad, and It's not super bad, but you know, defensively it's not very helpful. And you're taking like, I mean, depends on what you draw. Just imagine you're getting like 4 mana spells though. You're taking like 8 damage. You're playing like a 4. Yeah, imagine you have double Demon Bolt. That would be hilarious. Because yeah, like there is like a legitimate risk, depending on what you have, that you're just taking like straight up too much damage from this. Most of the time it's probably gonna be fine. If you have like 1 mana spells, it's amazing. But, you know, imagine on average you're taking like 4 damage per spell. That's like 4 mana, 4/3, take 8, and draw 2. And the thing is like, you know, you have life tap in this class, right? It's not like you need to take card draw. It's not that card draw is innately bad in Warlock. But it's just, you don't need to pay this high of a price, I feel like. Yeah, I do think Demon Bolt's rotating, but there's probably gonna be other cards that are, you know, equally concerning. And yeah, it's not like the spell costs health, you know. You just straight up take the damage, so that's really concerning. I feel like the cost, so overall, like, I feel like the cost, it's gonna depend on your deck, obviously, but it does actually feel like the cost of this is just a little bit too high. You know, it's very concerning to me. I think I missed an opportunity for a quest here because I wasn't paying attention. But it was my last strange. I could have gotten an upgrade, but we are talking about arena cards, the more important thing, right? So overall, I don't think this is gonna be a super great card, but you know, if you have a whole bunch of like 1 mana spells, you know, imagine you have like Final Gasp. The fact that you get to it's worth saying that the fact that you can potentially tutor out a bunch of 1 mana spells if that happens to be what you have, could be extremely good. But I feel like most of the time it's gonna be a little dicey for the reasons I mentioned. Alright, so moving on to probably my least favorite part of this set, which is Blacksmithing Hammer. So I made a tweet earlier today, or a series of tweets, about how much I dislike this card. So essentially what this is, it's a 4 mana 5/1 weapon, which is not good. It's not, honestly, I mean, 4 mana deal 5, it sucks that you take the damage, but that's already not that bad, to be honest. But the key of this card is that it has tradable, and after you trade this, the weapon gains +2 durability. So essentially what that means is, like, imagine if you have this card as a 1 mana. Imagine you have this card in your opening hand. If you trade this, you have, like, you know, whatever it is, like a 12% chance of drawing it by turn 4. And if you draw this by turn 4, you just straight up win the game instantly. And there's like nothing anyone, like, that's just such an overpowered weapon to have on turn 4, like, holy crap. So we're at the, I mean, I guess it's like worth noting that the game's gotten power crept to the point that that's not like as much an instant win as it used to be. But yeah, or you just have Sneck or Ooze and then you can bypass it, exactly, right? But yeah, I don't know, I just personally strongly dislike cards like this. So essentially it's a card that, it's, even though it doesn't have, you know, like, quote unquote, it's not like, you know, it's not like Mad Bomber or Puzzle Box or something. The text doesn't actually have RNG in it. But if you're viewing, but I feel like the correct way to view this is that this is actually an extremely high RNG card. It's just that it amplifies draw RNG. So I really strongly dislike cards like this, because it's just, to me, like, draw RNG is the lowest skill and least interesting RNG mechanic in Hearthstone. So it's like, at least if it's Puzzle Box, it's a fun card, right? And you get to see cool things happen. This thing is just as RNG as Puzzle Box, basically, but it's just, but it's not fun at all. It's completely bullshit. So I hope if I could have any influence on the design of this game, I would just ask them to never print a card like this ever again, because I just don't think it's good. It's not going to be like a super busted card, like, you probably won't even see it that much, but I don't know, cards like this I just think make the game worse, so I just don't want to see them just at all. That is that. So next we'll move on to, let me see, there is, I believe, just one neutral rare card that was announced, which is Multicaster. And where do I need to hit this retire button. Millhouse Coins Poggers. So this is a 4 mana 3/4 minion with Battle Cry. Draw a card for each different spell school you've cast this game. So this card seems like, imagine, I know I'm talking mostly about Arena, but like, imagine this card in like Spell Mage. you'd have to not run certain things, but man, like any deck that actually requires you to run multiple tribe spells seems really good. But overall, so in Arena, this card is probably, I feel like most of the time, it's probably going to be pretty fine on average. The problem with Arena is that you don't, for a card like this, is that you don't always have that many spells. And not even all spells even have schools on them. So, you know, you're probably usually going to get like one draw off of this, but you probably wouldn't expect that many more. But sometimes, you know, if you happen to have all the right shit, you might get like, you know, 3, 4, 5 draws off of this, and then it becomes absolutely insane. But I feel like most of the time you're probably just gonna get like one draw. So as far as Arena is concerned, this card is probably fine. It's gonna depend on your deck, obviously, but yeah, probably not gonna be super crazy overall. But it could be crazy in the right deck. But with that, I believe that is it. That is all the cards that were announced today. Again, if you're watching this video on YouTube, hit the like button if you like it, hit the dislike button if you dislike it. Let me know if you like this kind of format of video. I just figured I might as well just, you know, have some little background entertainment going on. But yeah, let me know if you like it. I don't know. If you find it distracting as well, you know, all feedback is welcomed as far as that. But yeah, appreciate you guys all hanging out. Thanks a lot. We'll see you guys next time.